Welcome to today's video. Iran and Israel have been at odds for decades, shaping not only their futures, but also the geopolitical dynamics of the entire Middle East. From historical ties to modern tensions, this rivalry has roots that run deep. In this video, we'll dive into the historical context, regional power struggles, and the current status of the Iran-Israel conflict, unraveling what has turned these two nations into staunch adversaries. Before the Iranian Revolution of 1979, Iran and Israel were not always adversaries. In fact, the two nations enjoyed a surprisingly cooperative relationship. Both shared common strategic interests, particularly as they were non-Arab states in a predominantly Arab region. This cooperation extended into military and economic domains, driven by mutual concerns about Arab nationalist movements like those in Egypt. However, everything changed in 1979. The Islamic Revolution in Iran brought Ayatollah Khomeini to power, and with him came a radical shift in ideology. Iran's new leadership rejected Israel's legitimacy, labeling it as an enemy of the Muslim world. Khomeini's anti-Israel rhetoric became a hallmark of the regime, framing the nation as a bastion of resistance against Zionism and Western influence. Despite this public enmity, there were moments of clandestine cooperation, such as during the Iran-Iraq War. Israel secretly provided weapons to Iran, seeing Iraq, led by Saddam Hussein, as the greater threat at the time. This paradoxical relationship would not last, though, and by the 1990s, open hostility became the norm. Since the 1990s, the rivalry has evolved into a broader geopolitical struggle. Iran's ambition to assert itself as a regional power is directly at odds with Israel's security concerns. Central to this tension is Iran's support for proxy groups, particularly Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, both of which pose direct threats to Israel. Tehran's backing of these groups has only deepened the animosity. Hezbollah, armed and financed by Iran, has fought multiple conflicts with Israel, most notably in the 2006 Lebanon War. For Israel, Hezbollah represents a well-armed and organized threat right on its northern border. Meanwhile, Iran's influence in Gaza through Hamas challenges Israel in the south. Iran's strategy of using proxies to exert influence and attack Israel indirectly has escalated the conflict, often pulling in other regional actors. Another key element of this rivalry is Iran's involvement in Syria. The Syrian civil war gave Iran the opportunity to expand its footprint in the region. By supporting Bashar al-Assad's regime, Iran has gained a foothold close to Israel's borders. This is a major concern for Israel, which has conducted numerous airstrikes against Iranian targets in Syria to prevent the establishment of permanent military bases by Tehran. Perhaps the most alarming aspect of the Iran-Israel conflict is the ongoing nuclear issue. Israel views Iran's nuclear program as an existential threat. The Iranian leadership insists that its nuclear ambitions are peaceful, aimed at energy production, but Israel, and many in the international community, fear that Iran is pursuing nuclear weapons. Israel has made it clear that it will not allow Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb. This concern has driven Israel's opposition to international agreements, like the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, known as the JCPOA. While this deal was designed to limit Iran's nuclear capabilities in exchange for sanctions relief, Israel criticized it as being too lenient, arguing that it would only delay Iran's path to a nuclear weapon, not prevent it. Tensions have escalated even further since the U.S. withdrawal from the deal in 2018 and the subsequent resumption of some Iranian nuclear activities. Israeli officials have repeatedly stated that they are prepared to take military action if necessary to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon, raising the specter of a potential conflict. The Iran-Israel rivalry isn't just about two countries, it's about influence across the Middle East. Both nations are vying for regional dominance, and this competition plays out in various theaters, from Iraq and Syria to Lebanon and the Persian Gulf. Iran sees itself as the leader of the so-called Axis of Resistance, a group of nations and militias that oppose Israel and Western influence in the region. Through this axis, Iran projects power, while Israel aligns itself with countries that share its concern about Iran's expansion, particularly Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. In recent years, Israel has made diplomatic inroads with several Arab nations through the Abraham Accords, normalizing relations with countries like the UAE Bahrain, and Morocco. These agreements are not just about economic ties. They also represent a new coalition of states that are wary of Iran's regional ambitions. Iran, meanwhile, continues to strengthen its ties with non-state actor